I was born in Southern California. Life was simple. Then my dad joined the Army. We moved around a lot. Europe was my favorite. I loved traveling around and seeing all of the castles. Everywhere I looked, there was something new. I was curious and adventure was all around me. But that was all about to change. When I was 10, I moved to Utah, and it was different. It seemed like all that surrounded me was mountains and Mormons. And it felt like everyone was related to Brigham Young, or some other great pioneer who endured great hardships and crossed the plains to build up the Mormon Church. At times I felt disconnected. I had no idea where my roots went, or where my family came from. My passion for travel and discovery led me to China. I had a lot of fun there, but something was still missing, and I didn't know what. So I packed up my bags and headed back home. Soon after arriving home, I found a great girl and got married. Family became everything, and I started wondering, would I have a legacy to leave behind? What would I be able to tell my kids about their ancestors? There are so many people with amazing stories of their pioneer ancestors. I wondered, what's my story? And where can I find out more? My grandma works at a genealogical library in Northern California. We got together and she told me about a great man in our family tree, Fredrick Kesler, an important man in the early development of Utah and a respected pioneer. The best thing about that night was that she gave me transcriptions of all the journals that he kept. She also guided me to some great resources online and showed me my family pedigree chart. What Grandma showed me got me so excited that I couldn't wait to start finding out more about Fredrick Kesler. So I got online and found a ton of great stuff about Kesler, but it felt like all of these websites were just linking me to the outside world. I had to venture out and see what details about this man would be uncovered. Luckily, most of the things to see were right here in Utah. I decided to head up to the University of Utah, where I could handle some of Kessler's personal belongings in their special collections. I wanted to make a more real connection with Kessler.
I'd like you to put on gloves,
okay?
Because we have very sensitive items in this chest. But know that the gloves are going to impede a little bit how we touch the paper.
When I found out I had to put on gloves to even touch his belongings, I was disappointed. I wanted a tactile connection with Kessler, but I couldn't even feel the texture of the pages. He looks a lot like Abe Lincoln in this one. This is the best picture. And I think he always had one of these books with him. So I think that's one thing about Fredrick Kesler that is maybe similar to me. I have a notebook that I have with me almost all the time, so I can take notes, and it's pretty sweet. His sister, her husband's name was George Adams, who enlisted. Looking through Kessler's collection was great, and even though I connected with what I saw, I knew there was still more out there. One of my relatives told me that Kessler's desk was in the Daughters of Utah Pioneer Museum in Salt Lake City. These two of his wives, you guys have information on. I met with Craig Smith, an employee of the museum, and we surveyed the inventory of Kessler's items being preserved at the museum.
This was very popular at the time. Everybody had this.
He showed me some very interesting and unique items that belonged to the Kessler family.
It seemed like everybody had one. I don't know if it was...
But the thing that I wanted to see the most, and what I really came here to see, was the desk of Fredrick Kesler. This very desk was where all of his notes, drawings, and plans were created and solidified. It was here that his creativity flourished and his contributions realized. To sit at his desk was inspiring. After visiting the library and museum, reading his journals, and understanding his vision, I really wanted to see what the end product of all of his hard work looked like. The Benton Grist mill is a mill that has been beautifully restored. Kessler, who was the superintendent of all mill building for the Mormon Church at the time, played a major role in its design, building, and maintenance. As I walked through the mill, I was in awe at the intricacy that I saw. Each and every piece of the mill was put together with exactness. Kessler truly was a master mill builder. As I touched the tools and machinery in the mill, I got a sense of the immense time and effort that my ancestor must have poured into his work. Though I didn't know exactly what the machines in the mill did, I understood their necessity to the community that Kessler lived and worked in. I saw the vital role Kessler played in settling the West and establishing Utah. This was all great, but where was my great-grandpa? Where was Kessler? I went to my university library to check out a CD that had an important article outlining Kessler's life and contributions. But when I got there and looked at the shelf where it should have been, the CD was nowhere to be found. You have all these black ones right here, and then this white one is sitting here on the end. I searched for over an hour and was about to give up when something truly amazing happened. Maybe like
30 feet?
Yeah,
40 feet?
about 30 feet. And something said, stop and look the other way, look back. So I turn around, and the first place that I look, and the first thing I see is this white CD sitting at the very end of this black row of CDs, and I knew that was it. I just, right then, bam, I knew that was it. It just stood right, it jumped out at me. I wanted to walk and talk with my ancestor. Since I couldn't, I went with the next best thing, the head of the Kessler family organization.
Read his autobiography and all the stuff he did back in the Midwest, and then crossing the plains, and the more you get into it, the more interesting it gets. So, to me, he was an adventurer. You read about the trip he did when he left Ohio to come down and settle eventually in Iowa along the Skunk River. I mean, that was an adventurous trip. Loading all your stuff up on this raft and floating down this river.
At that moment, looking at the map and listening to the story of Fredrick Kessler's journeys, I knew I had to take a journey, and I knew right where I needed to go, Winter Quarters, Nebraska, a historic site where Kessler's skills as a millwright turned the wilderness into the gateway to the West. Winter Quarters, now known as Florence, was once a major stop on the Pioneer Trail. Practically everyone going west would have passed through here. Today it's just another neighborhood in Omaha, the oldest neighborhood in Omaha.
Life was rough. In 1846, the Missouri River was the western border of the United States. Everything west of the Missouri River was quote-unquote Indian country, so designated by Congress in 1830. Going that far west helped to ensure the feeling Americans had that they should be a nation from sea to shining sea.
In June of 1846, Fredrick Kesler and other Mormon pioneers camped on the Missouri River and prepared their winter quarters. It was a temporary resting place before many more would sacrifice their lives in crossing the Rocky Mountains to build their permanent homes throughout Utah.
They decided they would build a ferry across the Missouri River. They assigned 1/4 of all the manpower in that first 3 wagon trains to build the ferry under the supervision of Fredrick Kesler.
After talking with Gail, I really wanted to cross the river at the L Street Bridge, the actual site where Kessler and the others constructed the ferry, even just in the car to compare the experience. So now we're on our way to the L Street Bridge. We're going to go to an area where the pioneers crossed on the ferry boat, but there's a bridge there right over that area, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to check that area out. And here's... No, we're passing it right now, and we're not driving across. We're passing the bridge right now, the L Street Bridge, and we are not driving across it because there's construction right here. And we came all this way, and we're not going to be able to drive across. So, see you later, bridge. At least I got a glimpse of the spot where the ferry was built and the pioneers crossed. Hopefully I'll get to see more of the mill than I did of the bridge and ferry site. I walked around the mill and imagined what it must have been like for him as he surveyed the land, chose the site, and watched the timber frame rising.
In American frontier history, mills were the first capitalist industry to move in. And really, mills settled the West. This is how it operated. Once you cross this line, we are now in the grain elevator that was built in 1915. It was added on. It was a very simple machine. It operated with gravity. And these original timbers would have been cut with an adze.
I have 2 journals about this thick transcribed of Fredrick Kesler. He kept daily journals, daily
I would
entries.
love to see
He would
that.
keep books with, I ordered 2 millstones
Mm-hmm.
for the mill. He'd put down lists. He'd make lists of things that he needed for the mills and
He kept
notes
those.
and just daily.
I love the voice from the past, the little whispers of what life was like, and I think it's very important to preserve our history. You can hold that mallet or you can hold that nail. People learn from experience, not just from reading things, and when you come in here you have the experience of touching history. This reminds me of being inside of a tree. But instead of the rings of the tree, I feel rings of history. And it's the Mormon history, it's the territorial, the gold rushers, the early settlement of Nebraska as a statehood, and on through the eras. And it's pretty neat that it's still here.
Yeah.
I was starting to connect with the man, not just his belongings or something he built. It was more about what he did, what he made possible for the pioneers, and his contributions in building America to what it is today. I gazed out over what would have been an empty prairie. In the bitter cold of late afternoon, I stood gazing over the banks of the Missouri, reflecting on Kessler's vision for a wilderness that would be transformed by his ingenuity and strength. He did all of this willingly for the people he loved and served. Leaving a part of myself there on the plains, I truly felt that I had found Kessler and walked in his footsteps.